Alright boys, welcome back to another video. Knicks Daily here. Today we're going to be talking about the Knicks taxpayer mid-level exception, which is worth about $5.2 million. Now me personally, I'm not sure if the Knicks should use that on Lowry over some other players that are on the market, the center position for example. But at the same time, it does make all the sense in the world for the Knicks to do it because they can trade for Nick Richards or they could trade for Walker Kessler and then they could fill out their roster with Kyle Lowry. There's many reasons why Lowry would be a great fit on the Knicks, and in this video I'm going to explain all of them. Let's just talk about Lowry though before the fit with the team. So last season he averaged 8 points, 3 rebounds, 4 assists, and a steal. He shot 43% from the field, but more importantly, he shot 39% from 3 in 60 games. So you have a player coming in who can pass the basketball, who can knock down 3-pointers. And the biggest thing to me is that Lowry has appeared in 136 playoff games. He's had 101 starts, and he helped the Raptors win the 2019 title. Lowry's 38 years old, but he's still an impactful player on both ends of the floor. He makes winning plays. And overall, the Knicks already have Jalen Brunson and Miles McBride. They also have Tyler Kolek, right? So they technically don't need another point guard. But you have to realize that Kolek is a rookie, and then McBride is not a pure playmaker, right? Jalen Brunson, if he gets injured, they could just insert Lowry into the starting lineup, or they probably would insert McBride if I'm being honest. But that way you have a guy who can come in, can just play a bunch of different roles. Best case scenario, a fully healthy Knicks team is the 9th or the 10th man. If there's an injury, then he can step up in the rotation. Let's just say, even if Lowry barely played, he's still a good mentor to this team because of his resume. He's won a championship. And again, he just makes winning plays. That's something that I certainly would want around our future guard. And Tyler Kolek. Can't stress enough of how excited I am for this guy. The Knicks just gave him a 4-year deal. I think it was like a little bit over $9 million. So, I mean, the future of the Knicks looks so good. I mean, we gave up all of our unprotected first-round picks, essentially 4 of them, and it's just, everyone's like, oh, well, the Knicks' future, they don't win a championship, but the Knicks are going to be good for the next 3 to 5 years. But right now, we're focused on winning a championship, and certainly Kyle Lowry helps us get closer to that. The Sixers do not have Lowry's bird rights on him, so that doesn't mean that they can offer him more money or anything like that. At the end of the day, Philadelphia is probably going to offer him the minimum. The Knicks could also offer him the minimum, but I don't think he would come to the Knicks over going back to Philly for the minimum, because Nick Nurse, of course, is the coach there, and they're just a really good 1-2 punch. They know each other well. They won a championship. But if the Knicks do use, again, that taxpayer mid-level exception, which is about $5.2 million, I do think they could get Lowry over here, because if he goes to the Suns, if he goes to Philly, he's making those teams better. And it's just more competition for us, so why not get him on this side? But overall, Lowry's the type of guy who he would be a fantastic piece to this team. And let me know your guys' thoughts down below on if you agree with me or if you disagree on bringing in Kyle Lowry. I also didn't even mention, guys, by the way, Kyle Lowry went to Villanova. So he's a Wildcat. So that would be cool. Could you imagine the comedy that the Knicks would pay with Kyle Lowry on this team would just be preposterous. Unfortunately for the Knicks and their fans, including myself, there has not been any news the past 2 days. Yesterday, you guys saw a video about me about why the Knicks are ready to win the NBA Finals. Today, you're seeing a Kyle Lowry rumor, which I don't even think it's fair to call it a rumor. It's more of a speculation to this point. But for the rest of the video, I want to talk about the center position, because that's what the big talks around the Knicks are right now, is what do they do at center. Isaiah Hartenstein was a player that stepped in for Mitch and contributed in a massive way. In my opinion, he was the second most important player on the Knicks in the playoffs. Not the second best. That would actually be Josh Hart, believe it or not. The second most important was Hartenstein. And I get against Joel Embiid, he wasn't exactly the greatest, but his ability to go out there and pass the basketball, protect the rim, block shots, rebound. I mean, Hartenstein was just a great fit here, especially because he could screen, he can make quick reads. You don't double team Jalen Brunson and leave Hartenstein wide open because he's going to find an open man, right? Things like that. But Isaiah Hartenstein is no longer on this team. He is with the Oklahoma City Thunder, which means that the Knicks have to find an alternative for that position. To me, Mitchell Robinson is the type of guy who could absolutely change a playoff series, whether that be for the good or the bad, right? If he was able to stay healthy, and I'm not even going to blame him too much for that because Joel Embiid was making dirty plays over and over again in that series. But if Mitch was able to stay healthy, we'd be having a much different discussion. But he's only played in 70 games once in his career. So to this point, I ran a poll on my channel and I asked you guys, do you trust Mitchell Robinson to be the starter? And I think it was like over 70% of you guys said yes, and then again 30% or whatever said no. I think it was actually 80% if I'm correct. I'm gonna have to go back and look, but the majority of Knicks fans believe that Mitch is capable of being the starting center. But that question wasn't just from a talent perspective, it was also from a durability perspective. And again, Mitch just has never been able to stay healthy. So that's why it's so important for the Knicks to go out there and to get not even a serviceable, but an impact backup. Jericho Sims absolutely is not good enough to be the backup center. Walker Kessler would be the best case scenario, and Nick Richards would basically be like, damn it, we missed out on Kessler, but also, okay, ooh, I'm intrigued, right? So that's where I'm at right now. I still want Precious Achiuwa back. I think, but the thing is, we actually, how are we going to bring back Precious, get Lowry, and then also bring in a backup center? So to this point, if we do end up bringing back Precious, which I think we're going to do, it's sort of been the type of situation to where the Knicks are like, we're not ruling it out, but it's obviously not our first choice. But when all these centers fly off the board, if the Knicks do miss out on trading for Richards or Kessler, then I'm basically just going to assume Precious is coming back. But he's not a center. Yes, he played some center for the Knicks, but he's best at the 4. He's going to be the backup to Julius Randle. So we still would need a big. So we really can't even afford, and Lowry comes on a minimum, we technically can't afford that, but I don't think he's going to come on minimum, right? We're talking about the Suns and Philly, like those teams competing with the Knicks. I feel like he probably would go there over us to begin with. So that's why we're probably going to have to pay up a little bit. But Mitchell Robinson, and I literally say this every video, I'll switch up my wording a little bit. I think Mitch is going to be the difference. I'll even go as far as saying he's going to be the difference too if we win the championship or not. Because if he stays healthy, we're talking about a guy who held Joel Embiid in game 1 of the first round to 2 of 11 shooting. That's 18%. In 7 points. Isaiah Hartenstein was getting absolutely dominated by Embiid. Embiid averaged, what was it, like 32 or 33 points a game against us in that first round series, but that was because Mitchell Robinson got injured. And even when he tried to come back, he wasn't even close to being healthy, right? So Mitch, the way he rebounds, you guys have to understand that the first 21 games of the season before he ended up getting injured, he was averaging over 5 offensive rebounds per game. He was grabbing 17% of the Knicks' missed shots. That's just absolutely absurd. It's important to look at the first 21 games that Mitch played in this season, because he did play in 31 regular season games, but he was fully healthy in those first 21. And Mitch, he went out there and he was just putting up numbers, big time numbers. He was having a career year. So yeah, the ability to screen for Mitch, to rebound the basketball, especially offensively, to catch lobs, and then he can protect the rim. He's a very important piece to us. He's also on a team-friendly contract. For those of you that don't know, Mitchell Robinson, Dante DiVincenzo, and Miles McBride combined make less money than Isaiah Hartenstein right now. So clearly, the Knicks are financially in a good spot considering how loaded this roster is, and they're not going to go over the second apron. But yeah, Precious Achiuwa is a guy who, with the Knicks, put up 8, 7 in a block. 52%. He's 24 years old. To me, he's an absolute must resign because he just gives us a lot of depth and value as a backup. He's also a guy that can step in and start, as we've seen. He's more of a matchup dependent player, right? Certain matchups, he's incredible. I'd even prefer him over Hartenstein and over a healthy Mitchell Robinson. That was last season, but there's also matchups where it's like, this guy shouldn't even be on the floor, right? That game against the Pacers, I believe it was. Was it the Pacers? It was the Raptors, sorry. He had 18 points, 11 rebounds, and he was just dominating, man. That's pretty much where I'm at. I want Precious Achiuwa back. I want Kyle Lowry, and I certainly want Walker Kessler, but I'd be fine with Nick Richards. If the Knicks end up trading for Nick Richards, there's going to be absolutely no complaint from me, because if anything, I kind of would prefer that, just because Walker Kessler is going to go for a lot of picks, and we don't have very many picks because of the Mikal Bridges trade. So not to say we don't have any, but we do have the Wizards and the Pistons, which is heavily protected, probably won't convey. And then we could do some swaps. But yeah, I don't really see a reason to trade for Walker Kessler because, again, we'd be fine with Precious and Nick Richards, right?